I'm the music god CJ Plain. You're listening to the Noise Report. You know what we do here? We laugh, we have fun, we interview cool and interesting people, or anyone that I can pretty much con into coming onto this mess that I call a podcast. Um, Tonight we have a bunch of really awesome people that are going to tell you great stuff about their projects, and we're going to talk a little bit, or maybe a lot, about something that if you've listened to the show at all or my radio show, you know it's very near and dear to me. And it's the reason that I'm doing this, because when I got the invite from Beatrice, immediately was like, yes, I haven't heard the person's music. I don't care if I like it. It doesn't matter. The topic is absolutely has to be covered because it's something you can't talk about. So, starting with her, she's going to introduce herself, give you a little bit of background, and then we're just going to go around and we'll do the introductions. So,
All
please
right.
introduce yourself.
Okay. Hi. Well, I'm Marla Mase, and I'm here. Actually, I am going to introduce their names. They can talk about themselves. But I'm here with Tomas Doncker and James Dellatacoma, who are both partners with them in True Groove Records. So that's just something you may not even know. But we are partners in a record label. We're based in Brooklyn, but our studio's in New Jersey. That's where James is right now, and we've done, just to start, many albums in the last 10 or so years, like over 500, 600 projects that we've released. Um, and many of them, yeah, and written, they've written many songs. I'm an artist on the label as well, and I have like 9 albums out. And I came to it late. So that's just a little introduction. They can, I can tell you how brilliant they both are, because they are absolutely brilliant producers, songwriters, artists. So that's why we're here, because they are the ones. I mean, I know a lot about music, but they are like, they know everything about music. I'm the one who's here to talk about mental health. I think that's what you're referring to, CJ. Am I right? Yeah,
Yes,
I don't even know if you
100%.
respect, but I am someone who so one of the things that we're doing, so yes, I am, my life has been very much affected by mental health issues, particularly with my children. And so, and the reason why Beatrice reached out to you was because my daughter Lael Summer, she died by suicide in 2017. Um, she was a month short of turning 25, and she had struggled for a long time with depression and an eating disorder and suicidality. She tried to kill herself a few times. I'm just doing a quick, overview. She
Right.
started around age 11, and she was in and out of, many treatment centers for depression and eating disorder, mostly eating disorder, actually. Did well for a while, went to USC. She's an amazing singer. That's one of the reasons why we're here, because we're going to talk about her music. She was
Yes.
also like an incredible singer from a very young age. And so she had 2 albums that she had done, that were out, that were produced by James and Tomas. And basically, so she died in 2017. Uh, and like, on paper, she didn't seem like someone who might have had mental illness. Like, I mean, anyone who knew, but, because she was smart and beautiful and talented and gifted, and, had a good family and great friends, and, you know, went to a great school and loved it, and still tried to kill herself a few times, and then eventually did. So just the seriousness, as I would say, of depression, very, it killed her basically. And so we have, when she died, I always knew I wanted to do something with her music, because she left something. She really left,
Right.
besides her leaving her memory with everyone's heart, and she was an incredible human being and helped many people. She worked at a residential treatment center and helped many people there. She wasn't a therapist or anything, but many people after she died wrote me and said that she was the reason why they're alive today, because her, because she really got them. She understood what they were going through.
Right.
But I always knew the music was something that she was, leaving behind. She had a legacy of this amazing music, and music that not only the albums that she left that she did, but music that no one had ever heard before.
Right.
It was like certain cover songs and things when she was young, but also she was starting to work on a couple of songs right before she died because she was planning on doing a new album. And so we had some demos of those, and they can talk more about what they did with that. And so this is called the Lael Project. So it took me 7 years to kind of really, say, okay, I'm ready to, re-release. They did reimagine stuff with it. I didn't really have a lot to do with it because it's a little painful,
Yeah.
um, in terms of the project, so what I always say is that it's partially, yes, it's a tribute and a legacy to her as an artist and as a human being, obviously, in her music, and to just let people hear her music because she's an amazing voice and she's incredible, and she really spoke a lot about her issues in her music. So I have very much about, I'm very much even in my work about, communicating, sharing stories. I'm not afraid to say what's going on because I believe that the more you share, the more you can possibly heal others. You open up the conversation, breaking the stigma, things that we've heard before. And I'm just joining that growing community of like, hey, there's nothing to be ashamed of. There's nothing to, feel bad about. We all struggle, and let's, open it up for people who are struggling, and also for families of people who are struggling, because it doesn't just affect one person, it affects everyone. And so this project is releasing a lot of, great material. The first single's coming out December 6th. Um, and I'll let Tomas and James talk about that. And yeah, and so this project is just like, hey, let's just share our story. She did and continue what she started, which her dream was like, I want to just help one person. She has writings too, which we're going to be releasing, like, not song writings. And her was like, just wow, all these people in the world going around with all this stuff. I could just help one person. No, she really did do that. And but one person to me is entire world, one person at a
Yeah.
time. So that's kind of it in a fairly brief nutshell. Um, and I can just have, Tomas and James, because what happened was when I decided to do it, of course I get James, they were the ones who produced it. I'm like, what can we do? And then they thought of, and then I'll let them continue from there as far as the music side of it is concerned.
Go ahead, James.
Yeah, so I'm James Dellatacoma. I'm chief engineer for the True Groove label and co-producer and partner with Tomas as far as putting pretty much all the music together that comes out on our label.
Yeah. James is
per-
also an artist on the label as well.
I am an artist on the label. I go by Touchy Feely. That's my artist name.
Nice.
Yeah. So in regards to this project specifically, when Tomas had mentioned that Marla wanted to do something, and originally it's like we thought it was going to be like almost like a remix project. We had a bunch of
Mhm.
recordings archived of stuff that we had put out by her. And more so than a remix, we don't use the word remix so often. We kind of reimagine things. We're not trying to make at the same time we could take a piece of music and we never try to make it modern. We just try to make it different and make it more, as timeless as the original. It's just a different view on it.
Yeah.
So I accepted that as a challenge, and we were floored by listening to the stuff and getting into the music, and then all of a sudden we had these recordings that were these unreleased recordings that Marla had mentioned, and some of them were Lael singing on into her phone in the car, specifically a cover of Adele's song "Hello." Um, and so based on the technology that we're using currently in the studio and our skill set, we were able to take iPhone pretty much vocal that was recorded on an iPhone and combine it with newly recorded music, frame it with newly recorded music and create something that sounds new and fresh, different than Adele's version for sure. And I believe is that the single that's coming out
It is the
first?
single. It's the first single, and also what Lael did at the time, CJ, were an audience, was that she was like really at one point she was like sneakily, like not sneakily, but recording herself on this like karaoke app, and
Mhm.
and just and sometimes posting, but not really. And so when she died, the owner of the app found me and Facebook messaged me and said, listen, I'm so sorry about the loss of your daughter. She was our favorite singer by far. We loved her so much. I don't even think she knew them, but they loved her. And they said, here's all her videos, everything she put on. And they sent it to me. And one of them is this one of Adele, which is just in her car in LA.
Mhm.
Unbelievable. And what they did geniusly was they pulled out the track that she sang to, the karaoke track, and created this beautiful track around it. But you have the video, and that will be coming out, and it is absolutely stunning. And it's actually, when you hear it, you will hear like that. You don't even hear the song in the same way. I mean, obviously, because she's not alive, and she's
Right.
singing, calling from the other side. But it's beautiful. That's all. Okay, that's it. Just added my
Shall I jump in?
Yeah, Tomas,
Yes.
Ed.
Hey, my name is Tomas Doncker. I am the CEO and head cheerleader for True Groove Records. It's nice to be on your show, CJ. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Lael, just the Lael Project. I think without getting too mushy, because it's very easy, especially since we're going to
Yeah.
veer off into discussions about mental health and sensitive issues like that. I just want to say that it's an amazing time we live in, despite some of the darkness that exists that I will not mention. But we, not just the Hello cover, but there were other songs that she and I were in the process of writing. We have song demos where James said, well, James, because he's the head genius, he's the wizard in the studio. We lifted her vocal off of iPhone recordings, and I mean, the quality is just it's flawless, man. It's crazy. Now, she was an incredible talent. Okay, I'm not saying that's going to work for just anybody, right? You know what I'm saying? Believe me, we James extracted the vocal track and we put it into our new recording session, our Pro Tool session, and it would come up, and we would just be sitting there freaking out. It sounded like she was literally right there in front of us. Yeah, just really. I know it's old news, just or whatever it is. Everything moves so fast nowadays, but I'm grateful to the technological advances that have been made.
Yeah.
Because we would not have been able to do this 6 years ago, 5 years ago. We would not have been able to do it, And what we have been able to do is to really, it's like a brand new record. It's just a brand new, actually, it's like almost two brand new records.
Yeah.
Material, as if she recorded them 3 weeks ago. It's very much of the now. Like I said, this doesn't work for just anybody. She was that great a talent, and the songs and her vocal performances are so inspired. I mean, it's rare that a young person or any person of any age can get in front of a microphone and give so much of themselves. Just it's a bit daunting, believe me. And so during this whole process, I mean, obviously Marla, it's her mother, obviously it's close, but James and I were challenged to I mean, we record most of these vocals, in the studio, right? So we pull them up and we're reimagining the songs and we're re-editing them, and it's just like it's so funny. You record a vocal, and you're like, that vocal is going to sound good 5 years from now. It's going to sound good 10 years from now, 50 years from now. Someone's going to put it on. They're going to go, wow, who's that? You just know.
Yeah.
Without auto-tune, without just wow, whoever that is, they can really sing, And there's something joyous in that because it is rare and it needs to be celebrated. It needs to be celebrated, that kind of thing. And I think we all agree we're all very blessed to have been a part of it. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't. James, come on, James. How many records we made? How many people we work with? CJ, let me tell you, everybody wants to do music, Everyone thinks music is sexy. Everyone's talented. Oh wow, yeah, you know what I mean? And then there's those who really do it.
Yeah.
And when
I
you bear witness to that, it's just your breath leaves your body, like, and that's the power
yeah,
of music. It's really beautiful. So
yeah.
anyway, the Lael Project, Lael Summer, True Groove Records. Um, we're excited to be releasing this material, to people. And also, I know I cut you off, CJ. I'll shut up in a
No,
second.
you're good. You're
Um,
good.
Also, as Marla said, it's not just because we love Lael and we think people need to
Right.
hear her. Okay, whatever. But the story around it, I mean, it- there's so much strength, so much strength coming out of
Yeah.
so much darkness, you know. And I think it's safe to say we live in a pretty dark time right now. Um, I think any opportunity that anyone has to strike a match, you know, it's worth doing. And so, Marla, I applaud you in going forward with the project.
The right
I,
time. And my
and
soul,
the timing is perfect. The
my
timing,
spiritual reader told my soul reader told me I have divine time. This is when like many 25 years ago. It's like you have divine timing. I was like, good. So maybe I just think it's the right for me. It was the right time because just I needed this time to process and realize like she had a shot. Like I just accepted it in the beginning, but then I thought, she had a shot. She could have lived, but she had a slip. I look at it as she had a
Right.
slip, and that's what happened. But her message wasn't always like, what her message was to survive, and she did everything she could too. And there was a slip that day. And so now I feel like to share her story. And some of the songs will do really talk about, like there's a song, The Good Fight. It's like her anthem to eating disorder and depression. And and to, fight the good fight. And then there's other things that are really empowering and fun. So I feel like that will maybe hopefully resonate with people and give them, courage to speak, sing, whatever, write, dance, just something, because that did help her heal,
let
and I
me
said,
ask a question, if I may. Sorry, Marla. Let me ask a question. I don't have any kids. Okay, James has a beautiful daughter, Marla. Obviously Lael, and she has
I
a
understand.
fantastic son. CJ, do you have any children?
Actually, I have six.
What?
Oh, I knew that the 12-year-old son, okay, and I knew you had another. I didn't know you had six.
Whoa.
So here's
Okay, you
I'll give
go.
you a
You
little
go,
bit.
CJ.
I'll give you a little bit of background on me.
Yeah.
I started playing music when I was 15 years old. Um, just as neighborhood kids. I grew up in Lapeer, Michigan, basically near Flint. I grew up around Flint. Um, was friends with the Dayton family and MC Breed and a bunch of the Flint hip hop artists.
Sure.
So I picked up a little bit here and there, and then I decided I was always more into metal than I was pretty much anything else. So I started a metal band, and we won a Battle of the Bands contest, and the prize was we got to headline the arts festival that summer. We didn't know who the headliner was, but we knew we were going to be the opening act for it. And then a week before, we got a phone call that said the headlining act that this year is going to be Jerry Lee Lewis. And immediately I was terrified because I was like, fuck, I got to open for one of the most cantankerous
Yeah, right.
men,
Madman, yeah. Madman, yeah.
yeah. So I was like, we're a metal band opening for this guy who he's going to absolutely hate us. So we go on stage and we play. We're 90% of the way done. Last song, I look over to the left and he's standing at the top of the stairs watching us. And I immediately thought, that can't be good. He came off the bus. You
Right.
know, like for him to come off the bus and stand there watching us, I was like, he's going to just, you know, be so nasty. And we finished and we walked over to the stage. And as we got to the edge of the stairs, he stuck his hand out. And I shook his hand and he's like, for a bunch of kids, you don't actually suck. And I thought, I'll take it. Coming from you, that's probably as close to a
Mhm.
compliment as you're gonna get. I mean, I was barely 16 years old at the time. I had just turned
Sure.
16. I was in foster care. I had no direction other than I was gonna be a rock star. And
Yeah.
everybody said, well, what are you gonna do if it doesn't work out? There was never a plan B. I was gonna be a rock star. I was, and that evolved into other things. And um, for 35 years, almost 40 years now, I have been involved in music in some form or another, either playing music or helping friends put together local shows or working with them, producing like little local records. Um, I have worked with some of the most amazing artists to exist on this planet. And sadly, I've lost a couple of very, very good friends to suicide. One way back in the 90s, one very recently. Um,
Sorry.
I have been involved. I don't know if you know what the Sims Foundation is. Um, I have
It's
been involved with the Sims Foundation for decades because during my travels and all of that, I became very good friends with the band Pariah when they were coming up. And when Sims committed suicide, um, that was heartbreaking to me. I was the first person that I had ever lost to suicide. And it was really my first, um, it was very eye-opening to
Sure.
be 18 years old, 19 years old, and to lose a friend that way. Um, a lot of people don't know the whole story. They know partial story, but he was actually dating Renee Zellweger at the time, and she broke up with him and left to go to California to become an actress, and he just didn't know how to cope with it.
Man, just real quick, Marla, this is the organization that Alex Koffler was involved with.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's where we
Right.
know
in
it.
Austin, Texas.
Okay. Yeah, in Austin,
Right.
Texas. Yeah.
Okay. It's in Austin. Okay. I
Yeah,
knew it sounded, oh, wow. Okay.
Funny you should say that. And a
We have a friend
friend
who
of
lost
mine,
his brother, right? Because
yeah,
he lost his brother to
yeah, yeah,
suicide. Yeah.
yeah. And
yeah.
a friend of mine, Brandon Temple, who's the drummer that Alex introduced me to, he just played the other day. I was going to go see him. He was in London. I couldn't make it down, but they did a video about him because he struggles with mental health issues, and
Yeah.
he's doing great. He's an amazing drummer. But yeah, that's where we know the Sims Foundation. Sorry,
Yeah.
go on, CJ. Yeah,
No,
man.
it's so that was
It's Austin.
uh
It's out of Austin. I
his
mean, we know
his
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
his parents, Sims's parents, started Sims's brother Kyle was the guitar player for Pariah, and he actually plays with the band Broken Teeth now with Jason McMaster from Dangerous Toys. So he continued, and then Doug Sam, his son,
Sure.
was the drummer.
Mhm.
Shandon Sam was the drummer. So really great guys. I I think they would have been huge if they didn't implode at that point. But very recently, we lost Chino XL, and I was very good friends with Chino. I had worked with Chino for a really long time, and um, when I learned when I was told that Chino died, I knew immediately how he died. Like I knew, like people they didn't say it at first. It took about a week before they kind of said, he hung himself. But I knew immediately, like from knowing him and his struggles with mental health and just a horrific, horrific childhood, like a childhood that no human being should ever have survived or have to have those demons. I knew immediately it was suicide, and I cried for the whole day because in the world of hip hop, there are those people that you always hear this is the GOAT, this is this person. You hear Eminem and you hear Jay-Z and you hear Nas, and you hear all of these names. But me, there's two names that rise above everyone, and that's KSR1 and Chino. Just
Yeah.
because lyrically they do things that are so beyond the pale that it's unmatched with what they do. Like, you know, KRS, Scott is out here, or not Scott, but KRS is out here at 63 and still rhymes better
It's bad. Yeah,
than
it's bad.
90%.
Really bad.
Uh,
He's a bad
yeah.
cat. Yeah.
So, you know, I've been touched by the mental health thing, and it's very, very personal to me. I have my own struggles with bipolar. Um, I drove truck as a career to make money to fund most of this, and I suffered a brain injury
Oh, wow.
on the job, so it retired me basically. And Homeland Security said you had a brain injury, you can't drive a truck anymore. It's too dangerous. You can have a seizure, even though in the 12-year sense, I've never had a single issue other than memory loss. Can't drive a semi. I can drive a school bus. I can drive a limousine, but not a semi. Which makes zero sense. I can't drive a semi with a single person in it, but I can drive a school bus
Right.
with
Yeah, that's
dozens
weird.
of children in it.
Right. Yeah.
Welcome to dealing with the government. So,
Right.
um, but I'm trying to teach myself to play guitar. I don't play guitar. I actually play bass. I don't play bass very well. I keep it simple, stupid is sort of my
That's the way.
yeah. You like three good chords, and I will milk the hell out of those chords.
Record and the truth. And there you
Yeah.
go. So,
But I have a love of music that is so insane. Like I have a collection of about 4 million songs, about 100 genres. So whether it's metal, whether it's punk, reggae, classical, blues, whatever, I could talk endlessly about whether you want to talk about Albert Collins and BB King, or you want to talk about uh, Modest Yahoo and Bob Marley and Burning Spear, whether you want to talk about Patti Smythe and the Velvet Underground or the Ramones or Agnostic Front and Madball and the Mahones or the Dirty Rotten Imbeciles, or whether you want to talk about the Dropkick Murphys or uh, you know Garth Brooks, Kenny Rogers, Oak Ridge Boys.
sure. Sure.
So I mean, I music is just really
Just
kind of
out of
what I do.
curiosity.
Do
Excuse me.
what?
Getting over cold. Curiosity. Do you know there's a radio show podcast called Songs from the Trail?
I don't know.
I
I've
was
never heard
wondering if
that.
he knew about
And
them.
it's done by a fellow named Steve Gerbach and our friend Jackson Smith, Patti Smith's son. And they're out of Michigan, right, Marla? I mean,
Beaver Island?
Beaver
Is it
Island, yeah.
Well,
Beaver
that's
Island?
way up north.
But
Oh,
they
really? Because it's nowhere near you.
What's it called? Songs from the Trail?
Yeah, Songs from the Trail.
it's a great show, yeah.
We've been on it, yeah, and it's wonderful. It's Patti Smith's son, Jackson, who
Oh,
is
okay.
a wonderful guy and a hell of a guitar player. He
Yeah,
tours with her. He's crazy great guitar player.
yeah.
And as you know, his father, Fred Sonic Smith, they just got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
MC5.
He was.
Shout out to you, Jackson.
I mean, it's.
All right.
I've lived this charmed life because as a truck driver, I got to see parts of the world that most people wouldn't see. But I've worked with artists as hauling their equipment, and I've worked with them promoting shows. I've worked with Ted Nugent. I've worked with Ron Keel. I've worked with the guys from Exodus. I work with a Jamaican artist called Conqueror.
You know
I
him? James?
love him. Oh my God. He actually, ironically, he did a YouTube video about 4 years ago, and he did his own version of Hello with
Really?
his niece called Rosie Delmas. And it's a really beautiful remake version of it. Rosie sings the main part of it, and then he kind of sings just in the background a little bit. But getting to this, I want to say one thing. When I watched the video, the music that you created to go along with the vocals.
Oh, so you saw it. I didn't even know that you saw the video. So you've seen it. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know what she sent you.
She
Okay.
just sent me the little link for the preview.
Okay, I didn't
The
see.
music that you guys created for it is 100% perfect.
Oh,
One of my favorite artists. One of my favorite styles of music is I'm a massive fan, more than anything else, of synthwave.
Oh, sure.
Clayton from Cell Dweller and Scandroid. And that track just, even without the vocal part, like just kind of tuning out the vocal part and listening to that track, I was so mesmerized by it because I was like, that is exactly what I would listen to in my car driving around.
Oh, cool,
Like,
man.
Wow, that's
Thank
great.
you.
I love artists. I love synthwave. Like there's something about synthwave that just, I don't know what it is, but it's that, I don't know. There's just something about that particular genre of music that just speaks to me because it's that great combination of, it's got the guitars in it that I love, but it's also got that 80s influence I grew up with, the
Sure.
the Modern Head and Uru Hubu and Kajagoogoo and bands like that that kind of did that, you know, Depeche Mode and
Sure.
Joy Division type of style that it's, in modern, talking about modern technology, where we've hit this point where even though as an artist you should be recording in a normal studio, we now have the ability to work at home and create home studios and using Pro Tools and Logic and Reaper and all of these amazing programs. You can really produce a record, right? Billie Eilish being the perfect example of,
Yeah, well, yeah.
here's a girl who created a Grammy-winning record
In her
in her
bedroom.
bedroom, laying on her bed, and if it's done wrong, it can go horribly wrong. And believe me, I have heard records that are painful to listen to. And then I've heard records that you would never believe that they were recorded in a home studio. And that's what makes it amazing is the fact that, like you said, you can take tracks from karaoke machines, cell phones, or YouTube or whatever, and you can isolate them and do things with them. And like you said, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, would have
Yeah.
never been possible to do. And
You know something, CJ? I never missed the opportunity to sing my illustrious colleagues' praises, Mr. Dellatacoma, this guy down here. Let me tell you something.
In
He
my
is
video, he's not down there.
he's at our studio here in West Orange, New
That's
Jersey.
right.
Ground control there, OMSS. And let me tell you something, CJ. I have a producer's working knowledge of the programs.
right.
I can get around. I can make a record. It's cool, But when it's time to James is literally a Jedi Knight. Going boldly where no one has ever gone before at the drop of a hat. And when we were working on this track, because I can tell you're into it, and thank you so much. It means a lot to us.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing because the vocal is so strong, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's almost like you can almost do anything around it. Sort of, it's gonna work. But we dug really deep.
Yeah.
In terms of the sonic textures, and
Yeah.
obviously you've listened to it, you can hear like
It's
disintegrating acoustic guitars that turn into, like television static that turns into, and so I gotta salute my man there. Basically we just talk about stuff and I'll say, well, why don't we just do that? And he's like, okay, well, wait a minute, Tomas, give me a minute.
Yes.
What, have you got it yet? Wait a minute, man, I'm working on it. And he always finds it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in regards in that track in particular, and most of the stuff that we do, we don't even go at it with a genre in mind. Tomas and I particularly, we're like you, we're fans of music. I mean, we may not have millions of music tracks, but we probably have heard millions of music collectively. But but like I said, I think I've mentioned this before to Tomas. We like to handpick these kind of cool things we hear in
Yeah.
other styles of music and just see if they work in our productions. And if they do,
Yes.
then they stay. And then we just Tomas is an amazing guitar player. So it's like, well, you know, I could let me lay some guitar, let me lay some guitar down. And if it's not outside the genre or not in any genre, we just take it, we make it work with the track. You know what I'm saying? And then when it comes to mixing and blending it, it's it's never out of it's never out of the character of what the song should be. We just got to make it all work. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
So
and this track particularly, we were just kind of like when we're kind of no, we knew it was done. We're just floor. We're looking at each other. We're like, you know, heavy. We're heavy. The emotion's heavy because it's
Yeah.
heavy
yeah,
to begin with, and
yeah.
we just know that there's something cool about it. You know what I'm saying? It's something very very nice about it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So 3 years ago when I went through my divorce, I, I work from home doing nothing essentially because I can't work now because of my disability. And I needed a new direction. So I was online and I was scrolling through and I come across Los Angeles Film School. And I just, my brain said, maybe I should actually get a degree in this shit so that I can actually get paid as opposed to doing it as a really expensive hobby. Because that's pretty much what I've done for 30 years. It's just been a really expensive hobby. I have all of this equipment. I have the mixers and the speakers and, all of the stuff you need to do it. And I've done it just on a very rudimentary level. So I was like, maybe if I go to school and I'm actually trained by people who know how to do this correctly, um, I can incorporate it and actually take it further. Um, so the one thing that is new to me for 30 years, I've listened to music as a fan of the music or as a musician. But now that I'm learning Logic and Pro Tools in these programs, I hear music differently now because I hear it from the aspect of the other side. And records that I used to love, I listen to now and ooh, didn't, that didn't work. Like,
You become
you know,
critical because you know how
yeah.
the you could see behind the curtain a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, the very main one, Pretty Boy Floyd, Leather Boys with Electric Toys, which is by Howard Benson. Howard Benson is an amazing producer, but that record just, I don't know if it was MCA being cheap or it was lost in translation or whatever, but that record is so hollow sounding now. It just sounds like plastic. And when you look at Howard's resume now with Papa Roach and all of these amazing Seven Dust and all the bands that he's done worked with,
Yeah.
Deftones, Korn, all of that, it sounds so horrible. And I gotta think that Howard looks back at that and just kind of
You
cringes
had a bad
at,
day. You had a bad day. I get
yeah.
it. Yeah.
But even listening to this track, I hear things now that I would have never heard 2 years ago when I started on this journey down into this rabbit hole of wanting to do basically what James does is, you know, uh, I have no I have no big illusions that I'm going to win a Grammy or anything like that. I want to work with local artists. I want to work with the people that I work with now. But I love music so much. And I love, like you said, I love taking pieces from different styles. Um, One of my obsessions is mashups
Yeah.
because I love when people take things that shouldn't go together and put them together and somehow, rap on top of I heard it through the grapevine.
Sure.
Those two songs, Round and Round and I Heard It Through the Grapevine, should not work together. But
Right.
somehow DJ Morgan figured out how to make that an amazing record.
I've seen that.
Metallica and
Crazy.
Michael Jackson should not go together, but
Right.
figured out how to do it. And that blows my mind. It amazes me that we have the technology and the ability now to take styles and sounds, and now you have all of these genres that are clashing together, and you have gangster grass out here creating, bluegrass and hip hop and winning a Grammy for the Justified theme, and you have Crossface mixing EDM and metalcore, and you have, hip hop and punk rock coming together, and you have these genres that, again, 5, 6, 10 years ago, just would have been at complete odds with each other. And now you could create new sounds and new
You
sonic.
know what though, man? You know what though? It's funny. I think that James, chime in here.
Sure.
Marla, even you. I mean, I think that as much as I appreciate the technological advances, um, I think we have come through a period now, because right now we are on the verge of this. I mean, this AI thing,
Right.
right? Okay.
Yeah,
And so now
that's
more than ever, I find that you got to hear it. You got to hear it.
yeah,
If you can hear it as a producer, as an artist, as an instrumentalist, you got to hear it in your head before, because basically when you turn the computer on, you can just go blah, and it sounds like Michael Jackson.
right. But you got to feel it. I
And,
mean,
and
that's,
everyone can do
no,
that. Everyone can do that.
yeah,
And so because of that, you have a proliferation of stuff that is so obviously like uninspired,
right.
you know, because it's so sexy to go blah, and it sounds like Michael Jackson.
Yeah,
And I can go blah blah, and it sounds like Bruce Springsteen. And okay, so
yeah,
there's a lot of that, right?
yeah.
There's a lot of that.
But
But then
but
you have
real
people.
heart and soul will always
That's what I'm
shine.
saying. You got to hear it. If you hear it, and it comes from, and then you go into the
Yeah,
great technological abyss. Well, then magic happens. It's pretty
yeah,
cool. I think it's really it's really wonderful. You remember when the whole thing was about trying to make it, there's all these tape
yeah,
saturation
yeah,
plugins. I mean, that was the thing for so long. You had to buy these,
yeah,
like these standalone things, right, to make it sound like you were recording the tape.
yeah,
You know, we're way past that now, man. You know what I'm saying? That you
yeah,
can actually can get that kind of energy
yeah,
wherever you want in a production, and then juxtapose it against something that sounds completely synthetic. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Really mix and match colors. It's
I'll,
great, but you got to hear it first. You got to hear it first. That's sort of the unwritten, unspoken rule. It's like if you don't hear it, I mean, it's just put this way. To my ear,
right.
I can hear through shit. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
that's
And fans
bullshit.
can too.
Yeah,
I will take imperfect and emotional
right,
over soulless and perfect every time.
right.
For example, I'm not a huge fan of Metallica because to me, it's very robotic to watch James stand on stage and just kind of stand in one spot and barely move.
Hmm.
That's boring to me. But you have artists like Tom Waits who
Ah,
you will never be accused of being a great singer, but you can't listen to Tom Waits and just not be moved to your soul by what that man does and what he writes. As imperfect as his voice is sometimes, when I hear Postcard from a Hooker in Minneapolis,
right, yeah.
being drunk at that keyboard and being, just rambling through that song, there's an emotion and a rawness in that song that is far more important to me as a fan than anything that I hear Yngwie Malmsteen, I hear Steve Vai, uh, Eric Johnson, people like that. It's almost robotic to me because they've done it so long. It's just perfect and it's flawless. And yes, they are beautiful musicians and brilliant musicians. But give me every day of the week, give me a Bob Seger, give me a
It was like Bob
a
Seger.
Bruce Springsteen or a Patti Smith, somebody that has
Yeah.
a
You know who I was
raw
listening to the other
Smith.
day? Check this out. And this guy it just came up, and I was like, oh fuck, this guy. Randy Newman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. I
Whenever
love
I hear Randy Newman,
Randy.
I'm just like,
Some of the greatest TV themes of,
what am
you
I
know,
doing? This guy is
yeah,
like, I mean, it's just like, what is that? It's just emotion. I mean, he's a genius, right? I mean, he's a anything
Like,
like just like
Yeah,
really, just like
Jim
really,
Steinman for me.
you
Like
know.
I'm so obsessed with Jim Steinman because when you think
Oh
about the
boy.
stuff that Jim wrote, not
Yeah,
only the Meatloaf stuff, but the Total Eclipse of the Heart, Making Love Out of Nothing at All, and
sure.
Celine Dion, and all of the great, amazing artists that Jim wrote for. And Jim was a brilliant musician in his own right, but he was more known for the stuff he produced and wrote for other people. And again, that it to me that the emotional attachment that you get to a song is far more important than the technical skill sometimes, because again, it's great to have skill, but if there's no emotion, if there's no rawness to it, if you're not opening yourself up and really making a point to it, um the one thing I loved about Frank Zappa so much is Zappa, Frank constantly never did the same thing twice.
Right.
So, and I make jokes about I feel sorry for the guys that were in his band
Oh, he wore people out.
because
He wore people out. No question about it.
but he walked on stage and you never knew what Frank was going to do. So you had to always be at 150% because there was no practice for Frank. There was no, hey, we're going to practice all week and this is how we're going to perform it. You didn't know when you walked on that stage. You didn't know what the hell Frank was going to do. You just had to be ready to follow along.
Yeah.
And if you didn't, it was over for you because Frank was going to, you're gone. And
You know what he would say? You know the famous thing. When someone got fired from Zappa's band, he would walk up to them and he would simply say, "Window or aisle?"
I I have a funny story
Your
with
ticket
I have
home. You know.
I have a funny story with Frank. When Dweezil released the Staying Alive song,
Yeah.
there were two versions of it. There was the one with Donny Osmond and there was the one with Ozzy. I wanted the CD and I couldn't find it in a record store. So a record store clerk said, well, call this number and it's where you order it. And when I called the number, hello. And I was like, yeah, I'm calling to inquire about the CD. And I went about, oh yeah, we can get it to you. And it took me about a minute and a half to realize that it was Frank.
Just
And I was like, wait, is this Frank Zappa? And he's like, well, who the hell else would it be? And I was like, you answer your own phone? And he's like, well, who the hell else would answer it? Like,
Right. Yeah.
I didn't realize Barking Pumpkin Records
It's him. It's in his house.
was literally in his living room. Like, I just assumed that they had an office and had office people that
Nope.
did no, it was in his living room and he answered the phone and holy shit, like this guy just has a home business is hawking
He
his
paid.
records and his kids' records out of his living room. And I was so,
He paid
yes,
every piece of music that he ever recorded.
yeah,
He paid for it. He never. My mom, when we saw the thingy on the documentary, we saw that,
Right?
right? He paid for every piece of, and even
yeah,
the orchestral works. He paid for it. He never took an advance from the label. He only licensed it to the labels.
yeah.
He paid for it. Now
It
that
blew my mind because
independent artist. That's how
I
you
would
do
have
it.
never
You know?
guessed that here's this guy who is this massive rock star is answering his phone and
Yeah.
and sending stuff from his living room. Like I had heard of people doing it, but they were like the punk labels, like you know,
Discord
like
or something.
do it yourself
Yeah.
punk people are the ones who did that normally.
Mhm.
Now,
Hey,
for
CJ,
example,
CJ,
mhm,
listen, I don't mean to overstep here, and if I am, just tell
no,
me to go, whatever. But I'm just curious. You have 6 children, man.
yeah, so what I
How is
didn't
that
mention,
going? It's a
I
lot of
have
kids,
two.
bro.
Do what?
That's a lot of kids.
Yeah, I was the one growing up. I was going to be a rock star. I never wanted any kids. And then it just kind of happened. And the first four were born and perfectly healthy, you know. And then my daughter was born in 2010, and she was born with trisomy 13.
Oh, wow.
And immediately upon her coming out, the doctor was like, get light flight here. We have to have light flight to Ann Arbor. And I was like, wait, what's going on? Like, why do we need life flight? Well, I can't tell you right now, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, hold up, like, don't stop, like, time out. Like, tell me why the fuck my kid is got to be life flighted to, Children's Hospital. And well, the other doctor will explain it. So we got down to Ann Arbor and they took us into a room and just a punch in the gut. Doctor was just straight to the point. Like he didn't bullshit, cut to anything. He's like, look, your daughter was born with trisomy 13. She's going to die. It could be 2 days. It could be 4 days, but it probably won't be more than a week. And there's nothing you could do to prepare for that. The loss of a child is, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, because whether it's this kind of death or whether it's suicide, it's unnatural for a parent to bury their child. And it's a pain that it cuts so deep. And time, people will say, oh, it'll get better. It'll get better with time. It'll get, or time heals all wounds. No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. Okay. Like 14 years down the road, I don't feel any better about my daughter dying. Okay. And I still tear up and I still cry about it because
I'm
it's
sorry, man. I didn't mean to like,
no. It's again, this is why
Why he wanted this
this
meeting.
is why this was so important to me.
Right.
One,
I hear you.
the
I hear
mental
you.
health aspect, but the other was the loss of a child.
No, but the law, I mean, I hear you. I mean, it's different, but it's just something that's
Yeah.
It's just
I don't care how much you hate, how much I would disagree with a person or hate a person. I would never wish that pain on them because it's just not something karma wise that you would ever do. But upon the loss of her, I was done. I didn't want any more children. She was number 5. I'm done. We went in, the wife went in. She was going to get the tubal done, so we didn't have any more kids. We went into the doctor, and the doctor was like, I got good news and I got bad news. And I was like, oh, okay. I don't like hearing that, but, what's the bad news? I can't do the operation today. Like, okay, so what's the good news? And he's like, you're going to have another kid. And I was like, that's not good news. Like, I just lost a child a year ago. Like, that's not good news. Like, I was devastated because I was like, I can't go through that again. Like, I can't, if that happens a second time, I would have never survived it. Luckily, this one was born, and he is the most perfect child I could ever ask for. This kid is 12 years old, straight A's, never argues, never throws a temper tantrum. He will do anything you ask him without question. He says, I love you 50 times a day, and I never get sick of hearing it. It was literally God's way of saying, you've gone through all of this. This is your reward. This is what I'm giving you for being faithful and keeping the fight and not giving up. And this kid has saved me in ways I can't put into words, So I am thankful every single day for this amazing gift that God has given me. And it is why during the divorce, I spent $20,000 plus, and I was a complete asshole during the divorce, for lack of a better word. And everybody's like, you're being so cruel. You're being so this and this and this. And I was like, look, the bottom line is, I don't care what I lose in this divorce, but he is not going to end up in that circus that you have going on in life. He will not be the victim of you blowing up your marriage, having an affair, moving to another state, refusing to work, and all of these things that you did. He won't be a victim of it. And that's why I said I took a financial beating, almost $50,000 in debt, but I can make money back. I can never replace his mental health. I can never replace his well-being in the grand scheme of things. Money
Yeah.
doesn't mean shit to me if I'm sitting here stressing if he's being taken care of, if he's being fed, if he's got bad influences around him, he's being exposed to drugs or alcohol or all the other negative things that a kid can ruin their life, you know. So that's all that matters to me. Everything else, it's a bonus, you know, like I get to live and I get to enjoy amazing music and I get to speak to amazing people like you guys and hear your stories and meet new friends, and you know that's what life is about, is experiences. I hear people talk about, well, I've got this house or this car or this much money, and I look at them and I feel sorry for them because I'm like, you're missing the biggest gift of life, and that's just knowing people and living in the experience and realizing that we're all in this together, good,
Yeah.
bad, or indifferent.
Mm-hmm.
We're all we all got our problems. So if we can do little things, like you said, if we can save one person, then it's been worth it, because that's one more person that can pay it forward, and then they'll save another person, and then that person will save another person.
And
And the
so on
one
and so
person
forth.
in the
Yeah.
beginning becomes 10 people, and then it becomes 100 people, and then it becomes 1,000 people. And
Totally. I'm totally with you, CJ, man. I mean, you guys know, like, I have, when I perform live, it's always, for me, it's always about, that's my new thing. I just want to be alive with you, you
yeah,
know, and, this is as good as it gets. That's my tagline right now. Like, with a group of people, like just being in a room together with you. That's, you know, and, so I hear you on that very
Yeah.
much. So,
yeah, it's really, it's doing the little things, you know. One experience I had that it it blew my mind at the time. During the divorce, I had spent so much money on the divorce. I was perpetually broke the entire time. And we went to Aldi's one day, and I was getting some hot dog buns for dinner. I had like $7 to my name. And he wanted ice cream. And I didn't have the money for ice cream, truthfully. But I said, fuck it, whatever. Get your ice cream. You behave so well and you do everything that I ever ask. You never complain or anything. I'll figure it out some kind of way. Somehow it'll work out. And I didn't say this out loud, but in my brain, like I'll figure it out. I don't know how, but I'll figure it out. And I got in line, and there was this woman in front of me, and we were standing there, and she paid for her groceries, and she put her stuff in the cart, and then she turned around and she looked at me, and she's like, "Sir, can I ask you a question?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "I don't know your story or situation." She said, "But God is telling me to pay for your groceries today."
Yeah. Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
it was it was a $3 thing of ice cream and $1.28 thing of buns. So it was really less than $5. She didn't know that I had $7 in my bank account at the time. She didn't know that I didn't get paid for another 3 weeks. But it was that little bit of humanity
Yeah.
that just at that time when I needed it the most, whether you're a religious person or you're not, whether you're spiritual or whatever, call it what you want, but it was that little spark in a dark time that said, okay, you can continue and you're going to make it through this. And even though you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel right now, it's there and it's coming. And I don't forget that, because I pray that I can give back in the same way to
Sure.
someone, whether it's $5 or $100. You know, I never miss that opportunity to do whatever I can to help someone, because I don't know their, again, I don't know their story. I don't know their situation. And it's not for me to question. All I know is that opportunity has presented itself, and I'm going to take that opportunity to put light into the world with so much dark, like you said, so much darkness around it.
Yeah.
If I can be a light for one person, then maybe they'll do the same. And again, it multiplies going forward, you know, and that's really my goal. The bottom line of all of this is I would love to be a Mr. Beast, or somebody that can turn this YouTube channel or this career into making a profit, and then taking that profit and helping people in whatever situation, whether it's to help homeless shelters or animal abuse shelters or whatever it is, but just taking that and using it in a positive way to put light into the world, you know. And um that's what music is to me, is light in the world. Like, when I'm at my darkest spot, I always have music to heal my soul.
It's the
And
healing force of the world. There you have it.
it's the universal language. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter where you come from, whether it's
Yep.
Jamaica or Japan or Spain or Russia or Kazakhstan or wherever you come from, everyone has music. It's the one thing that humanity has, no matter where you come from.
Yep.
You may not agree on politics, you may not have the same amount of money, you may not have the same lifestyles, you may have different religions, but you got music.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's the one thing that you can use in a positive light. So
Mm.
I
All
want
right.
to say that I really look forward to hearing the rest of this.
Yeah,
I
we
am
will.
amazed by this first song, and I am honored that you came on here to tell your story. And I it's so important that, you know, stories like this get told. And I, I'm I think it's amazing that you're taking the opportunity to use it, whether you want to call it a tribute or a memorial or whatever you choose to call it. I think it's amazing. And I think it's awesome that, you know, she left that as a legacy, so that 20 years down the road, you know, after memories fade and maybe you can't remember everything as clearly as we age, you got that music to always be there as a
Yeah.
reminder.
Oh, there's a bunch of it.
Oh,
Believe
there's a
me.
lot. There's a
But
lot.
that's
And
what I'm
so,
saying. Like,
Right.
it's,
Yeah.
you know, and that's what I hope to do. Is I hope to get back to recording soon and leave some kind of legacy for my kids to 30 years from now or 50 years from now or 100 years from now, after I'm gone, they can put on a CD or a tape and hear my voice and
seems like you already
remember.
have left them a legacy.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
Left them
hope
a legacy already, but continue. But you have, from what I
okay.
can
I hope
hear
so.
by hearing you and just hearing you in this last hour.
Thank you so
I
much, man, for having us on. We
Yeah,
really
thank you.
yeah,
And
Thank
maybe
you.
we could send you some other tracks, like
Yeah.
some
I
other
I
stuff.
would love that. And you
Even
know,
even some of our stuff. I mean, because it's all
Yeah.
connected.
yeah, I listened to some of your stuff, Marla, on just what was on like YouTube Music,
Oh yeah.
and I love the vibe, but I, you know, I've been lucky where musically, you know, growing up in the front seat of a Peterbilt because my dad's a truck driver, I had this music, and then I went to my grandpa's house because I had to go start school, and he was a country fan, and then had that, and then I got sent to LA to live with my mom for a while, and that was right during the hair metal thing, so I got that, and then I came back, and I was thrust at my aunt's house, and my cousins were into punk, so you know, I was introduced to, you know, DRI and the Ramones and all of that. and then I got into thrash and metal, and then I got into that. So I've gone from kind of genre to genre over my life and collected all of this weird knowledge. So I listen to music now, and there's really not a genre of music that I don't love or listen to as much. So my biggest thing is I love independent artists. I love the underground bands. I love the bands that um didn't necessarily like hit the very top. Like I'll take a Shark Island or a Warrior Soul over a Motley Crue or an Ozzy every day of the week because I love those bands, and I call them the underdogs, the ones that maybe they had a bad record deal or the label didn't follow through or for whatever reason,
Yeah,
and
they didn't have the look. Sometimes they didn't
yeah,
have like the handsome
or
singer or
sometimes they
something.
were just buried because they were too much like the big artists, like
Right.
Blue Tears, for example, out of Alabama, were a brilliant band, but sadly they sounded like Bon Jovi. And MCA buried them because they didn't want Bon Jovi to have competition.
Right.
So they recorded 3 CDs that barely got any, and MCA was a horrible, horrible label. Um, just they ruined so many amazing bands. Um, but I also want to say I'm I think it's amazing that you guys have started your own label. I'm a huge proponent of like do-it-yourself labels and labels that I guess are maybe you'd say upstart labels or whatever, labels that have kind of taken their destiny into their own hands and created their own thing. And I think it's very important that we don't have just the big labels, but that we have the labels like you guys and Sub Pop and the labels that are willing to take a chance on artists that you know don't have the promotion, the background, and all the traditional shit that labels would require you to have to be able to make music. Because making music it's just important. Whether you're good or bad, whatever your message is, you know, if I don't like, I have a mindset. If I don't like something, I'm not gonna rip it apart. I'm not gonna dog on it. I'm just gonna say, you know what, it's not for me, and we're gonna move along to something that I love.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not a fan of the Rolling Stones, but 70 years is 70 years. If you're a band for 70 years and you do, God knows how many records the Stones have done. Hey, how many bands can say they've been together for 70 years? Because you can probably count them on this many fingers.
Yeah.
And that in and of itself, mad respect.
Yeah.
I don't have to like your music. I just got to give you respect to say, hey, you've been around for 70 fucking years and in the music business, that's a long ass time, So, I mean,
Yeah.
respect, bro. I don't listen to your records, but respect, man. Like, and it's the same with Taylor Swift. Not a fan of Taylor Swift, but $1 billion a year is $1 billion a year. I'm not selling out stadiums, so who the hell am I to say whether she's good or bad? Like I operate out of my bedroom, and until I sell even a local venue out, I'm not in any position to say whether she's good or bad because I sure as hell ain't sold out no 100,000 seat stadium. So, we'll just say not my thing, and we'll move along to again the Bob Segers and the Tom Waits and the people that I love. So, yeah.
All right, man.
All right, cool. So listen, so thank you so much, and really appreciate it. It was great to meet you, and
Yes.
thank you for having us
So
on. And so I guess we'll get the link from Beatrice, and great, and then we'll be in
yes.
touch. We'll go
To end this, tell everyone where do they find you guys, social media wise, and where do
Marla.
they find more information about the Lael Project and
Okay, so I'll give you
different
a bunch of
things?
stuff. So there is the laelproject.com, and Lael is spelled Lael, and her artist name is Lael Summer, but it is the laelproject.com. We are truegroove.nyc.com, and you can get some information about the label and our production ability, the productions that we do and what we offer. And each of us, I guess, we all have our own websites and Instagram. I don't know. If you just look up Marla Mase, Mase,
Right.
You can find my website, just Google it and you'll find my website. And
Yeah.
Tomas Doncker, tons of stuff about Tomas online. I mean,
James
we've done a
Dellatacoma.
lot of stuff. I mean,
Right.
TomasDoncker.com and James as well. James Delt's creative art, creative music, and creative audio music.
Creative music and audio is
Creative-
is right.
And also under James Dellatacoma. So we all have a lot of stuff, and we've done a lot. I mean, not to say like, but we've done a lot of stuff, and
We're
Right.
out there.
I'm very honored to be in this. I've been able to partner with these two because they're both geniuses and beautiful, and
Yeah.
really done a lot of amazing work over the years with incredible artists, as well as themselves being incredible artists. So you should listen to some of their stuff too, CJ. And
I definitely will.
I'll
I
send you
look at
some.
I look at the stuff that Beatrice sent, and I see names like Bootsy Collins and Ivan Neville and Modest Yahoo
Yeah.
you know, all of the people that I love, you know, Amp Fiddler, people that, you know, I've listened to and idolized and had posters of over the years.
Tomas's latest releases have been these remixes of two tracks that he did with Amp. He's done a
Yeah.
bunch of stuff with Amp. So
Yeah, like I said, I love all genres of music, so I
Cool.
love that.
he's a
I
local
love people who
local
are
guy.
eclectic like me that don't, you know, people who lock themselves into one genre. I mean, it's fine, but I don't, I could never be that person. Like, I want to be the producer that when you come to me, I don't care if you bring hip hop, if you bring punk, if you bring metal, if you bring country. I want you to know that when you walk away, I'm going to send you away with $1 million sounding record, regardless of what the genre is. You know, we're going to do it. I mean, I always tell people I want to be the modern day Rick Rubin, without all the political stuff that Rick gets into, but sound wise, I want to operate like Rick operates.
Yeah.
You know, because I want that ability to go from Run DMC to Slayer to Celine Dion to Johnny Cash back to LL Cool J and just genre jump a little bit and not really be locked into any one thing, you know, and just have fun with it and make exciting music. So that's what's important to me.
Okay.
Well, we're gonna wrap this up.
Yes.
As always, you have anything else anyone wants to add?
Just thank you.
As always,
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
absolutely. You know how we end this? Be well, treat each other with kindness, and remember, no matter what you're going through, music heals.
Peace.